The IRS has a new law and it is going to be impacting resellers. In today's video, I am going to be talking a little bit about what this new law is and things that you need to be aware of, as well as showing you what it actually means to be a six-figure reseller. Not just what that big flashy gross number is, but I'm going to be showing you my profit and loss. I'm going to be showing you all the way down to my net less taxes, how much I save for taxes, my cost of goods, my shipping, my fees, and my expenses, as well as the split out of my entire reselling business. I am a six-figure reseller strictly in reselling. I did over six figures last year strictly in reselling, but I do have a full business. I have digital products, I have courses, I have YouTube. You guys are watching me on social media, and I'll show you the split out of that, as well as a true transparency on what it means to be a six-figure reseller. Let's jump right into it. In today's video, I am showing you, we're going to check in quickly with my November numbers. I'll talk a little bit about this new tax law and what it actually means for resellers. And then I'll show you my profit and loss statement. This is my gross, takes out my cost of goods, takes out my shipping and my fees, my expenses, and then how much I save each month and pay quarterly for my taxes. That's going to show you my bottom line, how much actually makes it into my bank account and lets me know, is this actually worth the time spent doing this? Or maybe you guys want to look at doing something else. And then I'll be setting my 2022 goals based off of these numbers. If you are new to my channel, just a quick little background, just so you know what numbers we're looking at. We are going to be looking at 2021 numbers. I'm on Poshmark and on eBay, and then I do have digital products, dashboards that I sell so that you can look at your data and your analytics, as well as courses on how to look at your numbers to make money reselling. I am on social media. You guys are watching me on YouTube, so I do bring in a little bit of income, and I'll show you the split out of that in this video, a little bit of income from social media. I do have a virtual assistant, so they help me create drafts and cross lists because I am a part-time seller. So I don't think I said that in this video yet. If you're new to the channel, I am a part-time seller. So I do over six figures gross, working under 20 hours a week and taking the summers and school breaks off. I am a mom of three children. I have a half-day preschooler, so I get about 2-ish hours, 4 days a week actually, because I volunteer one of those days, 4 days a week. Sometimes on the weekend, I work a little bit as well. I sell liquidation. Take that back. I have liquidation from, when things were shut down. I'm currently not using that as a strategy, but there is still some liquidation in my store, as well as thrift stores and bins. I talk a lot about the different strategies that I'm using right now. So if you're interested in learning a little bit about that, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Let's get into it. So first, let's talk a little bit about this new tax law. So I want to say, while the law is new and the platforms are now required. So previously they had to send a 1099 if you sold over $20,000, or I think it was like 600 items, they would have to send, they were required to send a 1099 to the IRS. But that does not mean you are not required to pay taxes. I want to be very clear with that. You have always had to pay taxes on money that you make. However, the IRS is now saying the platforms are required to send the information to the IRS if you have sold over $600. So now you're more required. Like, you've always had to pay taxes, but now the IRS is getting 1099s if you're selling and you're making money on these platforms. So now the IRS knows about it, right? So what is the implications and what does that actually mean for a reseller? If you've been paying taxes this entire time, it's not really going to be a big deal for you. I have always paid taxes on the revenue, so this isn't really something new for me. I don't have to change my processes. I don't have to track anything. It's something that I've already been doing. If you didn't realize this or you were trying to get around it, it is going to impact you. You need to come up with processes. You need to be tracking your expenses. I would highly, highly, highly recommend talking to a CPA because they're going to know the tax law in your state, and they're also going to be able to help you not have to pay fines or find ways to have more expenses or different types of tax laws that can kind of cut you a break. Every single time that I have used a CPA, they have saved me more money than it has cost me to use them. So I highly recommend that. And I also want to say I am not a CPA, so none of this is tax advice, just kind of breaking it down for you. So if you have sold more than $600, the IRS is getting a 1099 for you, and you are going to have to start paying taxes on this. Watch this entire video and you can see kind of what the implications of that are for your bottom line. It is going to impact it. It's going to be different depending on your expenses and what you claim, and if you have another job, and how much you make and what state you live in. So that's the new tax law. Let's go ahead and get in. I'm going to share a little bit about my November and December numbers because I didn't do this video. I do this as a monthly series. I have not shared my November numbers in the beginning of December because December was just ridiculously crazy with the holidays. I'm not sharing my December numbers because now I'm doing a year end. So let's just quickly jump in and take a peek at how I ended the year. So you can see here my November number was $12,619. Do keep in mind this video is my entire reselling business. I will be showing a split out shortly. If you want to see strictly my reselling numbers, you can head on over to my what sold video. I get very in depth into the numbers there, very transparent, and this is what I sold, my cost of goods, my average sale price, lots of information there in strictly reselling. But I ended the month in November, $12,619. That was my second best month of the year, October being the best. That's pretty typical. People say quarter four. For me, quarter four is technically October, November, and December. December is typically one of my worst months. However, that was not the case this year. It performed better than, some of these summer months, and February. February is a shorter month, so it makes sense that that's a little bit less. You have a couple less days there. But June, July, August, I took off. I was working, I was shipping and sending offers. That was it. So it makes sense that, I was working-ish in December. I took the last 2 weeks off. So it is a little bit higher than I anticipated, but my best months tend to be the fall, not necessarily the quarter. And you can see that here, October being my best month. But I'm still pretty excited with my December numbers. So let's get into my profit and loss. We will go ahead and scroll up here. So we're looking at 2021 data. The year ended. I might still have a couple returns trickling in here because, eBay, you can file a return for up to 30 days, but that's not going to move this number huge, and maybe a couple affiliate payouts as it is only the 10th. But we're talking, minimal numbers here. So $124,000 working part-time in my reselling business. Y'all, I am super stoked about that. If you watch these videos, I have added my available listings. So as I'm shooting this video right now, I have 1,678 items available for purchase on eBay. If you want to know kind of my sell-through rate and a bigger breakdown of my reselling business and those numbers, check out my what sold videos. And make sure to subscribe because I definitely share all of that. So now let's go ahead and take a look at my cost of goods. So this is how much it cost me to sell the items that sold. This is not how much I've spent on my inventory. This is how much the items that sold cost. That's what cost of goods sold. The cost of the goods that you sold. $28,000, y'all. $28,595.22. I sold $3,430, we're not talking dollars, items, quantity sold, over 3,000, almost 3,500 items sold, and I had a 6.3% return rate on eBay. Poshmark, well, I think I probably had like maybe 2 returns on Poshmark. In theory, you're not allowed to return items on Poshmark because they have to approve it, and very rarely does an item even open a case or get approved. So I do have returns on. Most of my items have free returns, which means that I pay for the shipping back. I have videos on my eBay tutorial playlist on how to decide if returns are right for you. And we'll talk about in a minute, when we get to fees, we'll talk a little bit about why I do it. That's one of the reasons that I do it. So this means my gross profit. This is how much of my gross, so this number, my gross is my top number, includes everything, shipping, fees, how much money people paid me. You take out my cost of goods, and now my gross profit is at $95,000, so just under $100,000. So I'm still, pretty happy with this. This is a gross profit margin. So the percentage of my profit 60% from my gross. We're sitting at 76%. Keep watching this video, guys, because this is going to continue to go down. There's more included in reselling than just your cost of goods. And I think a lot of people aren't realizing that. We're very fortunate in having a low cost of goods. My cost of goods for the year averaged about $8.34, I think, and that's because I did liquidation at the beginning of the year, which tends to be a lot higher. It's continuing to go down every month as I do more thrift store and more bins. I mean, the bins is $1.50 a pound. So most items are $1 or $2. Thrift stores may be slightly more expensive, but we are fortunate to have a low cost of goods. That does not mean we're not done. There is still more money coming out of my reselling business to get to that bottom line. Let's switch gears a little bit and I will share with you guys my split out. So where this gross is coming from, and then we'll get into the rest of it, shipping and fees, expenses, and then the bottom line, saving for those taxes. All right, so this is going to show us the split out. Let's go ahead and take a peek at this split out. This is for the entire year of 2021. Keep in mind, eBay is my biggest boo. This was not the case come 2 years ago. So if you guys are curious or interested in eBay, it takes time. It took me about 8-9 months of consistent eBaying to get to the point where eBay was bigger than Poshmark. But now you can see 67%. That is a large chunk of that $124,000. That is where the most of my income is coming from, is from eBay. So I do have eBay tutorials. If you guys are trying to get into eBay, figure out how to make sales and all the different tools and features there, I have an eBay tutorial playlist that you guys can check out on not necessarily what I do, but showing you all the different features, how to do them, and then how to decide if it's right for you. Because what I do is not going to work for everybody. So I show you how to use their tools and their analytics to figure out if it is right for your reselling business. Poshmark is 21%. This has come up towards the end of the year, and not talking too much about it here, but I do have a video on it, and I will link it in the cards above about my Poshmark, my new Poshmark strategy, and I'm so glad that I didn't quit Poshmark. It is 21%. That is the second largest chunk. And then you can see my dashboards here is the third largest chunk. That's at 10%, roughly 10%, 9.3% of the pie is dashboards. If you're new to the channel, these dashboards are Google Sheets. You put in your information and your data, and then you can have access to charts and graphs. Goes through, shows your average cost of goods. It has a simulator. I want to make this much money, so this is exactly what you need to do. It also, tells you your top performing categories and brands. It looks at different platforms and different places that you source and helps you make these informed strategic decisions. It's one of the biggest reasons that I can work part-time and make, $124,000, $100,000, because I am very strategic and I look at my numbers and do what's right for me. So that's kind of the split out there. I'm going to go into my goals in a minute, but this is going to be one of them. I am out of space. I work from home. I'm not getting a storage unit because I have to work from home. I have children at home. I don't have time to go daily to a storage unit and do inventory and ship from there. So I've kind of maxed out my space, but I want to increase my business and make more money. So looking at these different pieces of the pie and how I can work on some of those and make more money doing that. All right, let's go ahead and scroll over here. Let me get a sip of water. I didn't mention this before, but this is a gross hourly rate of $165. This is the assumption that I'm working roughly 15 hours a week with taking 2 weeks off. I want to say, this was kind of a big average. I took the summer off. I worked, 5 hours a week. I really prepped ahead, took photos ahead, sourced ahead so that I could take the summer off with the kids. The same thing happened over fall break as well as over Christmas break. So that's a rough estimate number on the actual hours that I worked, usually between 15 and 20 when the kids are at school. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at what my selling fees and my shipping fees are. So I paid $17,000 to sell my items on other platforms. This breaks out, like I said, I am between Poshmark and eBay, as well as, if I do a direct sale, there's a PayPal fee, and then my dashboard. There's some fees associated with selling. I have my own website there, but with having some sales there. Selling fees, so that's 17. Poshmark is, if you're new to reselling, just a quick overview. Poshmark is a flat 20% fee. That's it. eBay, I waver between 12 and 13% fees. I have an eBay fee to figure out how much your fees actually are. I have a video on that in my eBay tutorial playlist. The thumbnail is like WTF eBay fees because it's very complex. But my rate tends to waver between 12 and 13%. And one of the things I mentioned before is returns. If you are a top rated seller plus, you get a discount on your fees. And so for me, having a 6% return rate and having to pay for that shipping, to pay for 6% of my items to be shipped back to me is actually better for me because I'm still making more money because I am getting a discount on my fees and I'm only returning 6% of those items, if that makes sense. I do have an eBay returns a video that will go way more into detail, but that's how, that kind of swings and makes my fees there a little bit lower. Shipping for Poshmark pays for shipping unless you send an offer. It's very, very minimal to me. My shipping fees on Poshmark are very minimal. I typically don't send, a ton of offers to lower that shipping fee. Shipping on eBay, my buyers pay for shipping. I don't do free shipping. I have videos on whether that's right for you or not. I don't do free shipping. I do a flat rate shipping. So that is all of my items under £1 are $5.50. That's because the eBay shipping fees went up, which on that note, it is the 10th. I'm shooting this on the 10th. And if you guys didn't know, the Postal Service in the US is increasing their prices. So go ahead and check your eBay shipping there. I need to go in and make sure that works. But I do a flat rate for shipping. I sell clothing, shoes, and purses. My shipping tends to be, $5-6. Some of the heavier items, maybe $10, $13. So what's coming out for me of shipping is very minimal. If you guys are, looking at doing hard goods or things that cost a lot more money, keep in mind that gross number your shipping is going to be much more expensive. And so that's going to bring this margin down just a little bit. So my contribution margin, we're now sitting at about 50%. So 50% of that gross revenue, once you take out how much it costs to purchase the items, my selling fees and my shipping, you're talking contribution margin is now down to 50%. Now let's go ahead and get into expenses. That's the next line item on this. I'm going to show you a split out of my expenses for the month, and then we'll show you how much for the year. We're looking at the annual data, and then I'll go ahead and show you how much I spent for the entire year. So you can come down here. We'll see a split out. This is for all of the months. You can absolutely see my biggest chunk of my expenses every single month is a virtual assistant. I have a virtual assistant video, so I will link it down below on whether a virtual assistant is right for you. For me, yes, it increases my expenses, but it also increases my gross. And it increases my gross at a higher rate than it increases my expenses, i.e., I make more money using a virtual assistant than if I didn't. Everyone's business is going to be different, so absolutely look at yours. Check out that video on how I did this analysis to figure out if it's right for me. That's definitely the biggest chunk. But I'm going to look at my 2022 because one way to increase my net profit is to lower my expenses. If I'm paying less expenses, my net is going to come up. So I'm going to kind of take a look at my expenses in 2022, share that with you guys in my goals. But other things, actually, let's go ahead over real quick. You guys can see over here on the right, all of the things that I include in my expenses. As we're talking about taxes as well, you want to include as many expenses that make sense. Like, don't be fraudulent with it, but the more expenses you have, the lower that bottom line number is, and that number is what gets taxed. And so if you have a lower number, you're paying less taxes. Obviously, don't be fraudulent. Only talk to a CPA and only account for and claim expenses that are, legit and able to claim in your business. These are all things that I've been working with my CPA. I do work from home, so something like the internet is a standard percentage that the IRS allows if you work from home, as well as, some of the other things that would be working from home. So for the year of 2021, let's go ahead and move this down. Contribution margin, I spent $15,000 running my reselling business. Like I said, you saw the expenses below. The large majority of that is from a virtual assistant, but there's still other things that it costs to run a business. And this lowers how much money I actually take home. This is going to put me at a profit before taxes of 38%. This is still an hourly rate of $63, y'all. Like, it's over half, right? We're now down to about less than 40% of what I brought in for the year, but it's still $63 an hour working from home on my child's schedule. For me, it is still worth it. For you, you're going to have to make that decision. And now we're going to get into taxes, because this is the number that is going to be taxed. This $47,000 is the number that's going to be taxed. Now, for me, you'd need to talk to an accountant, look at your state, if you have, if there's going to be different things to account for here, as well as I file with my husband. So, our tax rate is going to account for that as well. But things that I assume, I like to be a little bit on the conservative side. I would rather save more and get a little bit back at the end of the year when I file taxes than have to pay more and not have the money saved. I do pay quarterly as well. So I assume a 20% federal tax rate. Like I said, this is going to depend on your income and kind of where you guys are sitting as well. I also there's a 5% state tax rate and then a 15.9% self-employment tax rate. This puts my taxes at 40%, y'all. So of that $47,000 that I made last year, 40% of that is now going to the IRS. That is going to, if you have not been doing this in the past, it's going to decrease the amount that you bring home, and only you can decide if this is still going to be worth it for you. I'm going to say, if it's not worth it for you and you have women's clothing, shoes, and purses that you are trying to liquidate, drop a note down below or send me a DM on Instagram, because inventory is always something that I am in need of. I don't work a ton of hours, so it's not always easy for me to go out and source and get the inventory that I wanted. So that's my disclaimer. That's my little soliciting. But let's go ahead and see what that puts me at for the year. All right, so that puts me at a $28,000 of that $124,000. That's still a $38 an hour rate. And I'm working from home with my children. For me, it is still absolutely worth it. Only you can decide if that's still worth it for you. So my 2022 goals based off of all of this, not based off of this, I'm trying to be a bit more sustainable in my home life and in my business. So I'm going to be implementing some practices there. If you guys have suggestions, let me know. I'm trying to find, I use poly mailers and they're plastic. And I put things to protect in plastic. If you guys have ideas of different ways to do some business practices that aren't going to completely get rid of all of my profit, but still, good for the environment, drop them down below. So the 3 goals that I kind of have for the year are going to be increase my net, right? This is one thing. I can't increase my gross too much more from a reselling perspective because I'm out of inventory. I can work on increasing my average sale price and trying to increase my sell-through rate, but that's going to be minimal. So I'm going to work on doing that as well as decreasing my cost of goods. If I'm spending less money on cost of goods, I'm going to make more money in my bank account. My net is going to go up. So continuing to work on the bins and thrift stores and doing less and less liquidation. My second goal is going to be increasing other parts of my business. So you guys saw that chunk, that piece of the pie. Reselling is pretty efficient. I'm going to work on as much of that as I can without growing my inventory because I'm out of space. But I can work on my affiliates, my dashboards, my digital products. Are there ways that I can be making more money doing that? Because not only does it not have a cost of goods associated with it, so if I increase that gross, I'm going to make more net as well because I'm not having to take out a cost of goods. It's my time that's spent. And this is where it goes into goal number 3, which is my expenses. If I go ahead and decrease my expenses, that is also going to increase my net. And there's not a lot that I can do with expenses. I try and be as mindful of those as possible, but you saw the largest chunk piece of the pie is my virtual assistant. So I'm not necessarily going to get rid of my virtual assistant because it allows me to make that gross, but I'm going to be spending time looking at their efficiencies. Are there ways that they can list faster? Are there efficiencies that they can be making in things that they're already doing, as well as is there additional things that I can have them do that is going to free up my time for other parts of my project, other parts of my business, for my affiliates, my dashboards, my digital products. If I can take some things off of my plate so I can spend more time working on those, then hopefully my net will be a little bit higher. If you guys like this video, YouTube thinks you'd also like this video, I will link a how to make money reselling playlist here, and then make sure to subscribe to follow my reselling journey.